Bulls are screaming around me. I just sat down, and I reached down and I pulled out a handful of dirt, and I just took a big whiff. That's as much a part of my memory last fall as shooting the elk I did.
The good part's not the part that you remember the most vividly and talk about the most. And this year we had an elk hunt together that absolutely was true. We both killed great bulls, but for the rest of our lives, when we talk about that hunt, it will be about the bears.
You can have health without high performance, but you can't have high performance without your health. When you're putting in 8, 10, 12-hour days, 5 days a week, double shifts, 6, 7 days a week, you better have a quality nutritional product. And I am so confident that when you go from an inferior product to a superior product, you will be a customer for life.
Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Wilderness Attitude Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon, and today I have a dream come true. I have a gentleman here that in when I was waning and on the fence of changing my life, talked me into it, and I haven't looked back since. I mean, a lot of you listeners, you know this story, and then also and then the continued encouragement is sitting also here at the table that kept me going through some of his videos and obviously through the products that they've developed through Wilderness Athlete. And, without any further ado, I got Mark Paulsen here and Chris Denham with me. And, whoa, this is a starstruck moment for me.
Bet you say that to all the girls.
Whoa, easy now. Just to one girl, just to one, the only one that matters, right? But thanks, gentlemen, for sitting down with me. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having us.
No, I've had the opportunity to sit down with you, Mark, in the past at Pope and Young, and we had a nice podcast, and it's still one to this day that I go back and listen to because getting to know you and on a behind the scenes level and learning about how this all came about for you and your history is an awesome story. So I think if you listeners want to know more of that, then you can go find them in the early episodes and you can learn that gig. But today I'm here in the Wilderness Athlete booth at the Sheep Show in Reno, Nevada, and really I wanted to get both of you here together because you guys have made a huge impact in my life, a huge impact in my marriage, a huge impact in my family, and it's continued to roll down through my business and through people around me everywhere. And because you guys set me on a path and a journey and an adventure that is hands down second to none, in my opinion. I could tell it all the time, right? I mean, I'm a true testament to taking your life back at 44 and having a little bit of help from some great products and some great men that didn't know me at all, but believed in what they were doing and what it had done for them, and shared that with me, and then I took hold of it to see if it worked for me.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's changed my life. So Chris, I met you at that Pope and Young convention,
right,
in Phoenix. I sat down in your booth for a minute, and I was interested in what you had to say. And I mean, you took an hour. I was one of those guys. You guys know me. I can talk too much, right? And you took an hour to talk to me about Wilderness Athlete products and what it had done for you and where the company had come from and what you guys had and what it all meant. And I had no clue what to look for in a protein. I had no clue what to look for in a multivitamin. I had no clue that the stuff I was using for hydration was bad for me. I mean, they tell me it's good for me.
Right.
And, and so I was a little skeptical at first that, what sets you, and I asked you that, well, what really sets you apart from anybody else? And what does it mean, right? And, do you remember that conversation?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was 2 years, or was it 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
3 years ago this spring.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. But you said one thing, or everything you've said. The one thing that's so critical is that Wilderness Athlete. We had the products, we had the time, but it was your desire to get better, to make that change is absolutely critical. So many people think that they're going to just take buy into a product line, and 3 months later their life's going to be totally different. It's a long process and requires commitment from the company as well as, but the individual is critical.
I can agree with you at this point. Looking back through my journey, I can agree to that point. I mean, I had to put effort in it. I had to make it work. I had to do my part, like you say. But what's important to me is that you guys take the time for every customer and every person that walks up to this booth, every person that sends you an email, you answer it. Even just a month ago, maybe, Coach, you sent me an email out of nowhere. Hadn't talked to you in a while, and you just thanked me for being me, and thanks for my commitment and my passion to Wilderness Athlete, and and that. There's people that they just take your money and run, man. They don't care.
Yeah.
But you guys always checked in with me. Kevin, Courtney, everybody always checked in with me to ask me how I was doing and where I was at, and is there anything that we could do? Is there anything we can change with the product? Is there what's going on?
Right.
And that is a testament to the realness, the transparency, the commitment to making the most superior product that you have control of, and offering it, in my opinion, at a fair price, good value, and with that customer support, and that actually cares.
And you bring that up, and that's very nice of you to say. I appreciate that. I'm a little bit older than Chris, but not that much.
Not much.
Just much. But I think some of the things that you're suggesting about how we treat people, I'd like to think that I treated people like that when I was 20. But as I've gotten older, I'm not at the end of the tunnel, but I see it, and you just start realizing that life's too short to not treat people well. It's just there's nothing on this planet that would cause me to treat somebody poorly. There's just no reason for that. So I appreciate it, and I've been the recipient of wonderful people who have taken me under their wing and starting with parents. But then coaches, influential people that have just at the right place at the right time, they said something, and you used this word earlier. They said something that encouraged me, and I think your talk with Chris obviously painted a picture for you of where you could go, and you took that picture, you believed it, you followed it, and you got the results.
Yeah, I put all of my raffle tickets in the Wilderness Athlete box.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to walk away from the convention with.
Yeah. So I think that's. And Chris is very good at that, and taking time to meet with people, because it's a wonderful thing. I get the biggest kick out of people like yourself that come to our booth and they show me their pictures and they tell me what happened with the product and how the product helped them start to change, and then that change was the catalyst to move into more change, and everything started to fall into place, and before you know it, not only did their life change, their marriage changed, their children changed, and it's almost hard to believe.
Right. It is hard to believe. I look back on the last 3 years, and that's what I say even at the start of the show. I'm starstruck to have you sitting here, both of you, because I can't express to either one of you enough my gratitude for what you've done in my life.
Well, thank you.
And I'm not here just to stroke you, right? I'm not here. This isn't I had you guys on because I want the listeners to really be able to engage in this conversation on the level of what it means, like you said, to be nice to people, to be transparent to people, to be leaders to people, to be, to continue your growth, and to find your utmost potential, however it is, right? And whether it's through Wilderness Athlete or not, or whether it's through my podcast or not, or through Outdoorsman's and getting a good pack and a weight trainer or what, it doesn't matter.
All right.
But the message I want out of this podcast right now is that encouragement to people to ask questions, put yourself out there, make a decision, and go for it. But surround yourself with people that are going to encourage you and challenge you and call you out.
All right.
And make you a better person and a better husband and a better father. And I like to encompass the wilderness attitude, that obviously, because I think that it's important that people get outside, that people disconnect from everything and get out there and find it. Everybody needs it. And whether it's flying a kite in the park with your kid, or going for a brisk walk in the morning, or taking your dog for a run, or hunting, or fishing, or just being a backpacker or a climber, I don't care, right?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because I told this to Chris a while back. He'll probably remember this. We hunted together the last couple of years, archery, and in this last year, I went one way and he went the other, but I remember in the dark by myself, bulls were screaming around me, but it's too early. Didn't want to get into their wind. I just sat down, on the ground on a little bench, and I reached down and I pulled out a handful of dirt, and I just took a big whiff. And that's as much a part of my memory last fall as shooting the elk I did, because we don't slow down. We don't smell the soil. We don't get any of that stuff. And it almost makes me emotional sometimes because the sense of smell triggers things. I grew up in agriculture and around a lot of, animals and grains and all those things. And to this day, I love the smell of agriculture.
Right.
But that particular handful of dirt sitting in the dark with bulls screaming was a pretty special time.
And so I bring that up because those are the things and the stories and the adventures that my listeners want to hear. Chris, what does the wilderness mean to you, and what has it done for you in your life? I mean, I looked through your website and read about you through the various levels of your career and different things that you've done. I mean, you've done a lot of amazing things in your life, and now that you touch people.
Well, it's funny you say that because really from the time I was a kid, and looking back on it, I realized how lucky I was at times. Like I met when I was in 6th grade, my parents made us. We had to work in the kitchen. We had to work in the lunchroom at the cafeteria because we could get free lunch. And we were, my parents were both middle class school teachers, but my parents were like, "You're going to work for a living. You're going to start in 6th grade. If you want to eat lunch, you got to work in the cafeteria." And I met this kid. We were back there scrubbing those trays off that you probably remember when you were a kid. And his family owned a ranch. And we sat there, and he was telling me stories of this ranching lifestyle. And I got to hunt with him and got to meet their family and worked on their ranch and hunted with them. And I killed my very first coos deer, my first deer ever with them when I was 16 years old.
One of the hardest deer to kill.
Oh, yeah. You could go ahead and start with the coos deer, and it was so fun. I remember those memories like Mark's talking about. Well, this year, my son and I drew a tag for that same unit. It's a super easy tag to draw. In fact, it's one of the least desirable tags in the state. We actually drew it in the leftover draw, and it was our 5th choice in the leftover.
Wow.
So it really wasn't. It's tough. It's a tough place. But we went back. My son and I, we filmed it for West Runner TV. Then went back in the same exact trail that I walked in. When I was that we hiked. Well, we rode horseback back then. But we went the same trail right back in that same country and hunted that same country with my son. The whole time, it'll say, I remember. I was trying to remember. I was 16. I'm 55. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it don't look the same.
No, it didn't. But there were certain things about it that were just so vivid. From 16.
Wow.
And Lord knows how many miles I've hiked since then. But to be able to look back and remember little pieces of the trail and those memories and how ingrained they are. I mean, it really is just. It's just so part of who I am. It's hard to even talk about sometimes because it's just so. It's just like so part of my basic core.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard to put words on some of that stuff, isn't it?
It is.
There's not words in the English language that describe some of the things that we feel and some of the things we see and experience.
But it's one of those things that we go in that direction. Not just to talk about the magazine, but one of the things I've always felt with hunters is, especially in the world we live in now, with the anti-hunting sentiment out there, and how polarized our country is becoming, that we're going to have more and more issues with the loss of hunting rights and loss of public lands. And I just feel like hunters, they need to have those conversations. They need to know how to articulate why they hunt, because we still have 90% of the general public that's really going to make the decision on whether we get to hunt or not.
Right.
And when somebody asks us the question, why do you hunt? Need to have an articulate response to that.
That's
right. People need to have that response. We just launched a new section in the magazine. We're calling it the Hunting Brain, and my wife, who's a psychiatrist, wrote the first column, who's not a hunter. But and it's a really interesting article about how from the day you're born, you're a hunter. You start hunting for the nipple. The moment you're born, you're a hunter.
Right.
But the whole idea is I'm going to have guest people write about why they hunt. So my hope is that guys will read this and say, you know what, that guy just put into words how I feel.
Yeah.
Now maybe I can articulate it better when somebody I run into a restaurant and somebody and I'm wearing camouflage and says, "You're a hunter? Why do you hunt?"
Right.
You can actually give them a really intelligent response that has the opportunity to impact that person, next time when they go to the polls, or if they're at a cocktail party and somebody starts, spouting off about how nasty hunters are. The guy says, I talked to a guy one time in a restaurant, and man, he told me about why he hunted. Maybe you might want to rethink your position,
Right. Well, and Lord knows we need some of that. I mean, we need educated, even myself. I mean, I've only been hunting for about 8 years, and and I have my reasons, and and whatnot. But you're right. I'm not that articulate in putting it out there. I'm not as educated as I should be at times to make answers. I mean, I can give a response, but then when we get into a little debate, and they start bringing up this and that, and I'm like, well, I don't even know what to say to that.
Right.
And sometimes you can get put on the spot, get nervous, get anxious, whatever. But you're absolutely right. I think it takes. We need to take that time to develop what that is for us and be able to say it properly and without, getting it. And almost to the point of where you can say what you got to say, and that's the end of the debate.
Right. Because if it's your personal testimony, it's like they can't argue with that.
That's
they can't tell you you're wrong when you say this is why I hunt. They can't say, well, that's not right. No, it is. I just told you that's why I do it. You
asked me why.
Right.
Why I.
Right.
And I told you why I do this.
Right. That's why I get people. People say, well, hunting's conservation. That's why I do it. Well, that's highly debatable from an
anti-hunter's
position.
Absolutely.
So I think people need to get away from that. I mean, hunting is conservation, but it's not a logical answer to that question.
That's not the end-all, be-all
right.
to it all. Yeah, I mean, there's a big pie here of why we hunt, right? And it's segmented depending on your lifestyle, depending on where you live, depending on what your financial means are, depending on what your political status is, depending on what your body does best for fuel. It all makes a difference, right?
Sure,
absolutely. I mean, Coach can attest to that. I mean, what you're putting in your body changes what the outcome is, and so I don't know. There's lots of reasons, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, Coach, so I sat down with you last April.
Yep.
And you were on a personal mission to spend some time with your family and spend some time with your wife and kind of take a little time off for Coach. How's that going?
Well, it's funny you should ask. We
Really?
just got back from 2 weeks in Hawaii, and my entire family was there, and wives and husbands, and it was good. It's funny, the grind of working, and I love to work. I mean, that's part of the downside is being productive. Let me back up. A lot of your listeners probably don't know. I retired after 30 years of coaching 5 years ago. And everybody has this vision of retirement as some grandiose thing, and you're just going to enjoy every day of every moment, and that's not the case. I just personally believe that God designed us to be productive and not to think all about yourself and whether I'm going to golf today, because, I can't hunt every day. I don't want to hunt every day. Right. I don't want to golf. But being productive, and that gives context to vacation. And without the other, it's problematic. So when I saw you, it was a grind. It'd been a long year, and I needed some downtime. I'd been doing a lot of work in the industrial world, and I needed a blow. And so you get a sufficient blow, and now let's crank it up and go again.
Right.
And that will probably change. It's also interesting to note as you age, what used to mean a lot to me 20 years ago doesn't mean much to me now. And it'll probably change again in 10 years. I see that in my hunting.
Yeah.
I love being in the woods more than I love shooting animals. I love the hunt, but just being there with, when you spend time with people like Chris and we have fun and you laugh and I'll forget about the animal pretty quickly.
Right.
But the experience of being around great human beings, you carry that with you forever.
Yeah,
no
the
doubt.
relationships and the journey is the best part, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and how gratifying is that? I mean, I know even for myself, just having all of my children and their significant others at this point, the ones that do have some, even when they're all in my house for Christmas or all around my dinner table, and you're looking at all of this that you had a hand in bringing into this world, shaping into the human beings they are today, what they contribute, where they're going, how they're giving back. And, man, what a cool feeling, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it is. And it's, to have people come up and say you raised good kids or whatever. I mean, it's sometimes I look at my kids and I'm like, who raised you?
I do the same thing, and I mean, I can be in the same supermarket. I'm like, we were in the same supermarket, were we not?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to spank every one of them in here at once. And they're like, your kids are so well behaved. And I'm like,
Really?
Are you just saying that to be nice? Because we were both in aisle 11, right? When the can came off the shelf and they started playing soccer, we were in the same aisle, right?
When my son Mark, who works at the outdoors, is over here working right now, every time we go to a parent-teacher conference, they all started almost exactly the same. Mark's such a great kid. Everybody loves Mark. He's just so sweet. But there was always the but. And Carla and my wife and I just look at each other like, okay, here it comes. What did he do? And it was always harmless stuff, but it was like, class clown stuff. But,
right.
Yeah.
So tell me about, you guys, like you say, you've been hunting together a long time. And you guys have been on a lot of adventures. There's got to be one, and it might be the same one you both give up here. But tell me your favorite hunt together, or even favorite time just doing anything outside together that you can recall that was a good time.
The most memorable, maybe?
Yeah, sure.
They always say that, memories, the good part's not the part that you remember the most vividly and talk about the most. And this year we had an elk hunt together that absolutely was true. We both killed great bulls, awesome hunt. Spectacular deal, but for the rest of our lives, when we talk about that hunt, it will be about the bears. We had a great camp, and my camera guy, Mark, killed a bull. He was on the other side of the ranch, so he texted me, say, I killed a bull. It was right at dark, so we had to drive we had about a 45-minute drive to get over to help him. And Randy, my camera guy, had gotten sick that day, so he was feeling really, pretty down. I said, let's drop you off at camp. And then we'll go and help Mark get this bull out. And we were with Mike Martinez from the Taos Pueblo. And as we're pulling into our camp, there's a big meadow right below our camp, and there was a sow with 2 cubs there. And a really pretty sow, kind of a blondish back, brown, dark legs. And they go running off, and we all commented about how cool it was to see that sow and 2 cubs.
Yeah.
So anyways, drop Randy off. He's going to get ready for bed. We're over. I'm literally up my elbows and guts. We're packing Mark's bull out, and my phone rings. And it's Randy. And I'm thinking, why is he calling me? He should be asleep right now.
And he knows what I'm doing nonetheless.
Oh, yeah. And he knows I'm digging for my phone with bloody hands. And I answer the phone. I'm like, hey, Randy. And he goes, hey, how long is it going to be before you guys get back? And I said, I don't know, probably a couple hours. Why? He goes, well, that sow and 2 cubs are in camp, and they won't leave. I said, what do you mean they're in camp? He says, yeah, they're just like coming back in camp, tearing stuff up. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So we hang up. And I was telling Mike Martinez he was going to call New Mexico Game of Fish. Then I get a picture from Randy. And these 3 bears are literally in our camp, just knocking stuff over. And so we ended up having Game of Fish came out, and we ran them off. And then Mark and I stayed up, caping the hide off of his bull. And we're just getting ready to go to bed. And it was like maybe 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's late. And Mark goes, Chris, those bears are back. And you look over, and there's those green eyes coming in. Excuse me. And so we ran them off, went to bed. Well, maybe an hour later, you hear this thrashing in our camp. We get up, the bears are back. We run them off. Maybe an hour later, we wake up, bears are back in camp. And they didn't leave until darn near dawn. And, so poor Randy's sick. He's trying to get a good night's sleep. And now we're running around in our underwear, with flashlights trying to chase bears out of camp. And they just bothered us all night. Well, the next night, Mark left the next day. The next night, I kill a bull right at dark. And we get back to camp at 1 o'clock in the morning, midnight, something like that. And I look, and all my propane bottles are all spread out. And I'm like, oh, they're back. and they came back all night long again. I mean, for 48 hours, we probably didn't get more than hour and a half of unbroken sleep.
Well, don't forget, Chris, that the first night after I killed my bull, we hung the quarters up in the trees, and with some of the back straps and other meat, we had neck meat, big chunks of neck meat. There's nowhere to hang it, so I put it on top of my F-250 rack. Well, don't you know, the doggone sow went up the front of my truck, up my windshield, on top of my truck, grabbed that sack, and ran off. So now I'm really mad.
Yeah. It was the good, it's the back straps and stuff.
Yeah, the back strap, tenderloins.
Not the front quarter,
and it was just not good.
Well, did it scratch your truck? Did it jack up
Strangely
your truck?
enough, no.
It didn't leave a mark. It took us a long time to figure out how the heck it got up there.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Right?
But I saw his paw marks going right up my windshield, and I saw his fur where he rolled down or something, and just jumped off. So, yeah.
I'd have been
one
lit.
thing, because sows and cubs are cute, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, but that second night, I would have shot all three of them in the head and not even have missed a wink of sleep. I was
lost
done
Eddie for sure because you were so deprived.
Oh, man.
I was so done with being the
your breakfast
conservationist.
sausage and your brats and
yeah.
That's that's some of the things, right? I mean, any of our journeys and adventures, you don't always remember the good stuff. That's for sure. Sometimes it's the turmoil and it's the hardship part.
Right.
I mean, I can attest to one story that sticks out in my mind. It's not even a hunting story, but me and my wife went back to Wisconsin to pick up a Harley that I bought. And we drove across the country, and we were coming through northern plains, and it was hot, man. It was like 85 degrees and 80% humidity, and we were cooking. And that poor little redhead just baked on the back of that scoot to the point where she got heat exhaustion, almost fell off the bike because she passed out. I'm rock and rolling these semis at 100 miles an hour to get around them because when they lose tires, it's like life-threatening. And so anyway, I'm doing that stuff. Anyway, we get through that first day of cooking. We get into Lincoln, still hot, get a good night's sleep. Next day we wake up, we're blowing out through Nebraska, and next thing you know, we are dodging tornado and tornado and tornado. I mean, we're flying up underneath underpasses and crawling up underneath the bridges, right, and watching semis blow over and campers roll away and all this stuff, and it's raining and raining, and we make it out of there, and we finally make it to Denver. I mean, it took us like 12 hours to go from Lincoln to Denver, and we get in there, and the next day we wake up, and it is sunshine, it is gorgeous. And from Denver to Durango, it was awesome. It was beautiful. The ride was scenic. It was wonderful. But the only thing we ever remember about the whole thing was dodging tornadoes and heat exhaustion, right? And it was one of those moments in life where you look at it and think to yourself, this was supposed to be a little different, I think. But such is life.
But adversity is what you remember.
Adversity is what you remember, yeah. And you know what? And I'll tell you what, it made me better prepared.
Mm-hmm.
It made me way better prepared. When I left the state of Colorado, I was ready. I had hurricane shelters. I had tornado shelters. No, I'm just kidding.
It's funny because I've gotten to be a little bit probably over the top on preparation in terms of my stuff. Because I remember in the early days, I just launch up, and like my sons do now. Although they don't even have a topo map, they just got their GPS. Yeah. Do they have backup? They don't check anything. I want to go in with my rain gear, something warm, fire starting material.
Times 3.
Backup batteries, a flashlight, two headlamps.
Yep.
And I've made it probably more than I need to, but it's just when you've been in bad situations and you felt that lost feeling, you never want to feel it again.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm over the top.
Yeah, I'm an overpacker.
My gosh, yeah.
I'm way over.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I like the guy with 2 headlamps. I've got 14 AAA batteries when 3 would be more than enough. Yeah.
Well, and now lately I end up overpacking because now I've got children going with me that are young, right? So now it's like I make them carry their bare minimum, their food for the day, their sleeping bag, their pad, their clothes, but I carry all the food. I carry the extra headlamp, the extra batteries, the extra, I don't know. And then I get back, even when I go hunt by myself without them, I come back and I look and I unpack my pack and I'm like, why do I do this to myself? I have never used that.
Right.
But then I'm that guy from Boy Scouts where I know the minute I take it out of my pack, I'm going to be looking for that because I need it. And I'm going to be like, Brandon, 10 years. 10 years you've been carrying that in your pack. And you take it out, and now you need it. Right?
Yeah.
I think we all do that, I think, at some point, don't we?
Yeah,
That's kind of like my spotting scope. That I'll guarantee you, if I don't take my tripod and spotting scope, there's something I need to see 2 miles away.
Right.
Every single time.
I did it this year. December 31st, I was taking my graphic designer going Kuzner hunting, and I knew where we were going, that it was going to be 1,000-yard glassing. And he was just looking for a decent buck. We weren't trophy hunting necessarily. So I'm like, I'm not packing. It was like a 4-mile hike in there, and I'm like, I'm not packing that big scope. I wasn't set up 5 minutes, and I was like, dang it, I can't believe I didn't bring it. The first buck we see is like you end up, it's like the one spot that's 2.5 miles away. That
You know what I always think of? You guys have watched Star Wars before, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you remember when Luke in the first one, he holds up what looks like binoculars, and it's like a certain view, and then he pushes the button, it's all tick, 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 tick. It's like a spot and scope. I'm like, when's somebody going to come out with that deal?
The all-in-one tool.
Yeah, because how many pounds of glass do we carry to be able to cover the spectrum, just in case?
Yeah.
But see, I'm lucky because I've, at this point in my hunting career, if it's a legal bull, I shoot it. And I'm not this management guy like, I got to shoot this mature bull and all that stuff. I have 9 children, and they are all carnivores.
You have 9 children?
I do.
Dang, I missed that. That's a lot of kids.
And they're all carnivores. So I kill the first legal bull that gives me a 40, 50-yard or less shot. I'm taking it. Yeah. I'm going home with meat. And so when I'm glassing with my 10x42s, if I can see antlers on a bull, I'm going. I don't have to worry about it. I know it's legal if I can see some decent antler growth, and
man, with 9 kids, you're looking for roadkill. I mean, it's all going home.
That's a lot of mouths.
Look, I'll tell you what. I'm not prideful enough to say that I haven't watched a deer get hit in front of my house, and I have called State Patrol or Game Warden and said, "Meet me here."
Oh yeah.
I mean, if I see it happen, then I'll take it.
Yeah.
If I didn't see it happen, then I have no time lapse. I don't know, right? But if I see it happen and I see it go down, I'm all over it. Because I mean, there's even on a good doe. I'll turn the whole thing into jerky.
Right.
You got to. I'll tell you a funny story. Jerky has turned into the bartering staple at the elementary and junior high level.
Really?
If you show up with a sack of jerky, anything is possible in the lunchroom. Anything you want.
Really?
Kids get a taste of that good teriyaki jerky, and they will trade their chocolate cake, their extra milk. I mean, you can imagine that. I'm pretty sure that I've had homework done for my children thanks to the jerky they've carried.
Sure.
So, I mean, and they just smash it. We used to take a big gallon bag on every road trip for my daughter's traveling volleyball league, right? Mm-hmm. And I would think that a good gallon bag of jerky would last through the weekend. But if you've ever seen 12 girls sit powwow style in a circle with a gallon bag of jerky, it is gone. Because they're athletes. They're working hard. And when their body gets a taste of that good meat, man, you know that their brain's telling them, more. Yeah. And they just devour it. So I'm the first one to pick up a little roadkill in my house, man.
So other kids are eating good jerky, and your kids are eating all their chocolate cake.
No, I know that goes down. Because here these days we won't be doing chocolate cake in my house.
Right.
So if you want to get sugar and you want to get fill your vice, then the jerky is how you do it in the lunchroom.
Funny.
Good. I know raising that many kids has really changed my definition of hunting.
Oh yeah.
Why I hunt. There's no doubt about why I hunt specifically in that scenario.
Right.
And because, more and more as I see what store-bought meat is, what it's doing, where it's coming from, and all that stuff, man, I mean, I look at my kids, and they're my angels. They're my everything.
All right.
They deserve the very best that I can do for them. And so, therefore, I know where it's at, so I got to go do my work. And now I got to – look, my kids now are surpassed me. The last 2 hunting seasons, my kids are feeding my family. Not me. My kids are doing it, and that is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. When we sit around the table, I mean, I am my own butcher. My listeners know that, right? Like I have my own meat room. I have my own walk-in. I was a chef for 16 years. I was also a trained butcher. So when I get an animal in the house, we get it break down. But my kids know how to do it. If they're going to shoot it, they're going to gut it, they're going to carry it, they're going to clean it and get it in the cooler. And within a week or 2 or 3 days, whatever animal we get, I'll hang an elk for 3 weeks. And then we'll go in there and we break down the muscle groups. We wrap it how they want it. My daughter shot her buck this year, and she's living on her own. And she's pretty much pulling meat for herself. So everything we wrapped was in a simple 2-person pack.
Right.
So when she pulls something out, she knows it's dinner tonight and lunch tomorrow. Right? And I teach them, when we wrap meat for our family, it's half of a tenderloin is for dinner because they will eat half of an elk tenderloin in one night. Well, not quite. Maybe a little bit for lunch the next day. But they'll devour it. And so we package it that way. And so I teach them to do that. And I teach them all that stuff. And all the way from the field to the plate for them. And this year, both my daughters have put meat on the table. My son killed a cow last year. Brianne killed a cow this year. And in the last 2 seasons, I've only punched 1 mule deer tag. I won. And I've had 2 elk tags. I've had 2 elk tags, 2 deer tags, and a bear tag each year, and I've only gotten 1 buck.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm super proud of them feeding the family, or if I really need to hone my craft a little bit more here.
Yeah,
but
get on those streaks sometimes, and what's wrong with me?
Yeah, 3 years ago, I filled every tag I had, and I thought, wow, I could do this every year.
Yeah.
Nope, ain't happening, man. So I don't know. Maybe I get back on a good streak. I need some more mentoring, is what I'm thinking. Need some new places, some new mentoring, something like that. I'm not sure what, but I don't know. What's on the horizon for you, Chris?
Oh gosh, we've got a lot of irons in the fire right now, but we're still going hot and heavy with Western Hunter TV. Still got just finished airing season 5. Already filmed season 6 and planning. We're in the planning stages of season 7. We're just like everybody else out there. We're got a spreadsheet with all our bonus points on it, trying to figure out what we can draw, where we can draw, where we could have conflicts, how we could fill in a hole with over-the-counter tags. And and then Western Hunter Magazine still going strong. In fact, I honestly still think we're improving with each issue. Just the quality of the content from quality editors.
On the Western Hunter Magazine part, do you sell more print or more digital? I've always
print.
wondered. More print?
Way
Print's
more.
Still strong.
Oh, yeah. It's the old digital thing. I mean, I still think it has a future, but if it's not now, it's not right now. I mean, it just seems like, I love it looking at it now because we can put live links in there. You've got Fred Eichler talking about strategies for calling in coyotes. And there's a QR code you can pull up on your phone right there and watch him do that. I just think that's really cool stuff.
Right.
Or, live links. If you like that product, you can take you right to where you can read more about that product. But people still love to hold a magazine in their hand and read it. That's still the preferred method of consumption.
I'm that guy.
Yeah.
I am too.
I don't know. Maybe it's our age, Colin. I don't know. But I just had to ask that because I have always kind of in the back of my mind, I wonder if print's dying or if TV's dying or, there's all you read. You can listen to every guru there is, right, about this or that or whatever. And, like we talked about that a little bit earlier, as far as, what's still the best way of saying that you have, that you're garnering attention, right? And you were saying email, right? And it's not really how many followers you have on Instagram really yet. That's not that relevant. I mean, maybe to some people it might be, but really in the foundation of this industry and the foundation of where you're at, you're telling me it's not.
Right.
And so it's always interesting from my perspective as a podcaster, like what am I supposed to be concentrating on? Where am I supposed to be? And it's almost like you get so spread thin across all of this stuff that it's hard to stay relative. You're just diluting yourself almost sometimes.
There is just an overwhelming paradigm of choice. There's just so many choices, so many different places for people to consume content. But I think what you're doing is content is king. Just keep putting out really cool programs that people want to listen to and wait for the organic growth to continue to happen.
Yeah, and the value, right? That's my big concentration this year is value content, right? It's like, it's got to be something that people are going to engage in, they can relate to, and just normal people doing normal things that that can listen to something, and if they can grab something out of this podcast and they can relate somehow, and I like to think that it's not necessarily like, oh wow, he has the same hobby as me. No, I'm looking for like life-changing stuff.
Right.
Things that people can grab and say, I can do that, or I believe in that, and just something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always different. Each guest, each way you're going, and trying to figure what's best. But I don't know. That's the growth, and like you say, the organic growth I'm in.
Right.
In this stage in the game for me, 9 months later, 10 months later, it's just trying to, it took me some of that time to even find some identity of what I wanted to be and where I wanted to go, and I'm sure it's going to continue to change. Like you said, Coach, it's like what was important 20 years ago and what's going to be important 10 years from now. Who's to say?
Yeah.
It's tough to predict.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can predict it. Events happen in your life that change you, and things become closer to you. I don't know. So it's going to be fun. I know we're busy. WA is still experiencing really solid growth, so that's fun. We'll continue to develop new products. I think we haven't arrived, but we're starting to make the impact that I really wanted to make. Is that we're a health company that lends itself to high performance. I tell people you can have health without high performance, but you can't have high performance without your health. So, long story short, there's other categories we need to go into to help people, and you don't need to take every one of our product. I mean, there's a market for everybody, but to have an impact on outdoorsmen's long-term health, still what drives me today.
Right. Well, and you guys also have the working segment, the working athlete segment, right? And I don't think that really my listeners may even be familiar with that. Touch on that just a little bit, because I think that's important. I mean, a lot of people, they take the time to take care of themselves in the outdoors because they see that they need that performance, but they don't even think about the fact that they need to take care of themselves at work. Right?
Yeah, well, I make the case when I go speak to industrial companies that if you play an athletic event that's 2 to 3 hours long and you got trainers on the sideline, you got emergency vehicles, you got showers, you got doctors, you got all this, well, you can get away with sugar water. When you're putting in 8, 10, 12-hour days, 5 days a week, double shifts, 6, 7 days a week, you better have a quality nutritional product. And I always raise the issue of where have products not improved in the last 10 years, let alone 50 years. Well, I can tell you where, and that's in the area of sports drinks. Now you're getting my take on it, but I get a little uptight about it because I feel like we're trying to be a disruptor and get people to stop giving their employees sugar water and expect great results.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
And so to show them the advances we've made at wilderness athlete into working athlete, and to say, listen, all I'm asking you to do is try it. If you try it and you don't like it, then don't buy it. But I am so confident that when you go from an inferior product to a superior product, you will be a customer for life. That's what I want you to try.
Well, and I mean, it only enhances their bottom line. If you're getting optimum performance out of every employee, or even half of the employees that may say they like it or don't like it or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're still, if you can get the Coke and you can get the other stuff and the energy drinks and all that stuff out that are just horrible for you out of the coolers and out of the dispensers, and give them something that's actually genuinely good. I mean, I don't know. You make it sound like it's a hard sell, but to me, it makes total sense.
Well, yeah, and it does make sense. I mean, I think that's the frustrating part is when I lay it out, especially with graphics, and I can show them from whence we came and what they've been using and the deleterious effects of that, and how by adding minerals, vitamins, amino acids, vitamins, all these things, to make it a nutritional powerhouse. I mean, they invariably agree, and they're excited. The problem is they all have budgets. And sometimes, in most cases, the budget dictates. And it's not unlike that in any industry until you break in and change the industry. So we are in the process, quite frankly, of changing the industry.
Right. And that's going to be an uphill battle.
It is.
Right.
You look at what safety rules were 30 years ago in some of these industries versus where they are today. People, it just takes time. Sometimes it takes even regulation, for somebody to say, OSHA to come in and say, look, you got people falling over from dehydration. What's your plan? So hopefully we'll be there. Yeah.
I hope so. I really hope so. I mean, I don't see the disadvantage other than the budgetary side, but I know you got to spend money to make money.
Right.
I know that you got to. When it comes to that, like you're talking about, I mean, it's a dynamic change and it takes time, right? I mean, safety is. I mean, nowadays, that's a good idea, really. I mean, right? I'm sure there's a safety aspect to what you're talking about, right,
sure.
Coach?
Well, it goes back to the tagline as a company that we used for Wilderness Athlete, which is simply, and here we are in the middle of a convention center with incredible products, but none of it works if your body doesn't work. Yep. None of it's worth a lick if you fall apart. So the most important piece of equipment you own is you. Same thing in the industrial world. They have steel-toed boots. They have hard hats. They got FR clothing. They got all these doodads. And I'm sitting there going, guys, I get it. So why do we give them that in terms, sugar water?
Yeah.
It's fun. I like it. I like the challenge of it.
Yeah.
I like getting a little bit in their grill, but not so much that, my job is not to back down. My job is to say, listen, I ain't changing. I'm not going anywhere. Our products are that good. If you don't want them, and health isn't for everybody. I try to shame them, quite frankly. I try to shame them. If you don't care that much about your employees, keep drinking sugar water. So it's fun.
Well, but, sometimes that's what people need to hear. I'm sorry that the world's full of a lot of fluff, right? Sometimes you got to be hard-edged. You got to lay it on the line. You got to, no BS, no gray area, black and white. You can see it or you don't see it. You don't see it, see the door.
Yeah.
Right? I used to have this grill cookie. I don't remember where it's from. He was kind of silly dude, but you say you're either witty or you're guinea. And are you witty? Because if you're witty, we're going places. If you're guinea, then go to the exit sign, boy.
Right.
Exactly. He was a ball buster when it came to training new cooks on my line. That's why I liked him, because he called BS in a heartbeat.
Right.
But not that WA is that kind of company. Like I said before, you guys are genuine, transparent, and educational. That's where it's at, right? You're going in front of these people trying to educate them, and you guys do it very well. But there's just some people that don't want to listen.
All right.
But you can build programs and give them every opportunity and different things. But if they're not going to do it, if they're not going to take it seriously and make a go of it, then they're not going to do it. And and you guys empowered me to be able to do it. But like you say, I walked in there ready to listen.
Right.
I walked in there wanting something. I wanted change. I was tired of feeling how I felt. I was tired of looking at myself in the mirror going, what have you done or not done?
Right.
And something's got the levee's going to break here one way or the other. You're 44 years old. If you don't get a hold of it now, at 50, your uphill battle is going to be even harder.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many people that over 50, that's it.
Yeah.
They're like, I can't do it. I don't have it in me. And that just kept ringing in my mind that I had to make a change now. I had to put one foot in front of the other and get after it.
Yeah.
And, through the information that you give out, Chris, through the magazine and through your show, Coach, all the trainings you do and speaking engagements and the videos that you've produced that I've watched. And, even look at the videos you do. It's pretty simple, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty cut and dry.
We're never that in-your-face hard sell company.
No.
We're selling health. And I was telling Mark earlier, I love it coming to shows like this and having Wilderness Athlete customers come up that just say, I've been buying your product for 5 years, love it. And it's not 60 seconds later, we're on a totally different, it's a health conversation, but it doesn't have anything to do with Wilderness Athlete products. We might be talking about, what else are they changing their diet? Have they really looked at paleo concepts? Are they, we're talking about keto, we're talking about exercise plans. We're talking about a healthy lifestyle, not just hard selling our products.
Right.
It's
that's right.
Because we really just like what you experienced, Wilderness Athlete. We really are. We're trying to build this company one customer at a time. It'd be nice if it was 10 a day, but if it's one a day, then we're one better than we were yesterday, and because we're here for the long run.
Yeah, it's exactly. Well, you got to be in the long run for yourself.
Right.
If you're gonna make a lifestyle change, it's a lifestyle. It wasn't a today change. Right?
Yeah.
And it's going to be longevity.
Mm-hmm.
Be patient, go with it. I mean, look, my wife just started a 28-day Paleo challenge at the first of the year. Okay, I've been a loyal customer for 2.5 years. I mean, I engage in every product you have, monthly, daily, twice a day,
right.
5 times a day, whatever, right? And my consistency in what I was doing for me with your product, it finally resonated to her to be able to say, all right, I'm ready to try that now. So, even though you're only getting 1 customer a day or 10 or whatever, you got 1 customer a day that's actually doing it. You got 10 more in the background watching, man.
Yeah.
You got 100 more in the background paying attention, wondering, watching someone else's result, doing this and that. And that's why, even when I started the show, it's like, I don't know if it'll work for you or not. But until you take it, you're never going to know.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see all this I got going on. You can see my world. You can see my kids. I mean, my kids drink that in their football games, and they're all, they love hydrating recovery.
Right.
They love all this stuff.
And it's interesting to play off of what you just said, that telling a story like you just did is more impactful than me sitting there looking at a label talking about raw materials, ingredients. We use this, and their eyes glass over.
Yeah.
Because people read a lot and they try to act like they're experts, but they're not.
That's like me and Chris. You say, well, it's got this, it's got that. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
I have no idea what any of that
Yeah.
stuff is,
Yeah.
man.
When
Give this to me on the Reader's Digest version down here.
Yeah, which takes me back to you or anybody, when you just say, listen, all I know is this. I took it, I felt poor. In an hour, I felt like $1 million, and I don't care what's in it. Hopefully it's healthy.
Yeah.
See, it's just the excitement of the story is what sells.
Yeah. And I think you guys, I don't know anybody that's used your products that hasn't been satisfied. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody. I'm sure they're there, but I haven't met them yet.
All right.
Yeah.
I haven't met them yet.
Yeah. I had a guy once, a funny story to talk about that change. My wife and I were hiking the Grand Canyon. We were doing down to the river and back, and we were halfway up the south rim. And there's a stretch there. Was a long rock wall right along the trail. So we stopped just to take a break. And I see this guy just grinding up. And he doesn't look good, but I can tell he's a really fit dude. And I'm guessing he was doing the rim to rim, and he's on the way back up, and which is 47 miles and it's 12,500 vertical feet. And, this rock wall is 100 yards long. He comes and plops down like 6 inches from me. There's nobody else on this rock wall but my wife and I. I'm looking at this guy going, well, that was a little close, don't you think?
Was that intentional or was that a crash landing?
I think it was kind of a crash landing. He was just like, I'm done. I'm sitting right here. And so I turned to him and I said, you doing rim to rim? And he just nods his head yes. And I said, how you doing? He goes, not good. And I said, what are you feeling? He says, man, I don't know if I want to make it out of here. And just I've done the rim to rim myself, rim to rim. And this guy looked like he just smoked me. He's got that, just a fit looking dude.
Sized him up. He looked all right. Yeah.
And I said, "You hydrating?" He goes, "No, I need something." I said, "You want to try something here?" And I said, I pulled out a packet of Hydrate and Recover, and he looked at me and said, "Yeah, no, I mean, would you have taken something off of you're about to, you feel like you're going to die, and somebody offers you some candy, and you're like, I'm not taking that, if I don't know what it is." But he's like, "Heck yeah!" So I poured it in his water bottle, and he drank it, and he said, "That tastes really good." And my wife and I went like to go about 2 miles to the next water station. We're filling up our water, and he came by and he goes, "Man, I'm feeling pretty good. Thanks for that." And he took off. We never caught him again. He was out before we were. The next morning, we were going to the Grand Canyon Lodge there for breakfast, and that guy's sitting there with about 15 of his friends had done the rim to rim, and he jumped up and he's like, "I don't know what that stuff was." He said, "But I felt amazing." He goes, "I felt better finishing that than I was going up the North Rim."
Right.
And it was totally unbiased because, I told him he was a wilderness athlete and that, but he had no idea what it was. So there was no bias in his mind. He didn't ever heard of us. But Hydrate and Recover, he still to this day, I'm sure that guy's a customer out there somewhere.
He's got to be. Yeah, absolutely. Because otherwise he'd still be sitting at that rock wall.
Oh, yeah.
Or someone had to come carry him out of there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I know through and through in my heart that it's one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life. And you taking that time with me to answer all those questions and be there for me, Chris, was a game changer in every way, shape, or form. And I thank you for helping change my life.
Hey, thanks for saying that, because it really inspires us.
It's just the truth. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to cry. Thanks, Coach, for all you've done for me too, and what your company continues to do for me, and in every way, shape, or form. Your kids and your staff and your whole crew or family. To me, they've always been there for anything that we've talked about. I've asked, or even through this podcasting and being in this booth today, and what a privilege it is to be here and occupy even a portion of this space is truly an honor for me. And I just look forward to the years and years to come of all the new things you guys come out with, and just keeping the foundation that I've built through the products I do use. And by no means my listeners need to know that this isn't an infomercial. This isn't to sell you on WA. This is to sell you on relationships and communication and passion and drive and loving one another as humans, and being transparent and just doing what you love to do and sharing it and allowing people to be in your space, right?
Yeah.
And be a part of your journey, because people need people. Humans need good humans.
Yeah.
And that's the point of this whole podcast for my listeners, is that you are two of my favorite humans.
Yeah. Thank you,
Brandon.
Appreciate you guys for taking the time to sit down with me.
Anytime.
Thanks
My
so
pleasure.
much. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to Wilderness Attitude. I hope you enjoyed that. I know that a few of these podcasts here lately from the Sheep Show are really a personal venture of mine, and a strong communication from me to you. It's not my standard type of podcast, but I can tell you that without these people in my life, that I wouldn't be bringing you the podcast I have today. So if any of this did interest you, please go check it out. Take it, try it, see for yourself. Everybody's different. There's options in this world. Educate yourself about everything that you speak of, everything you believe in. It doesn't matter whether it's your health, your politics, your love. Educate yourself and live yourself, be yourself, and be genuine. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.